This week, we get the big reveal. The announcement is made as to who's going to take over for Moshe as the leader of the Jewish people after Moshe's death. Everyone must have thought it's going to be Pinchas. The Parsha is named after him, after his heroic act at the end of last week's Parsha that stopped the plague that had killed tens of thousands of Jews. But Moshe didn't think so. Moshe thought it was going to be one or both of his sons, who must have been incredibly talented, otherwise Moshe never would have had them in mind. And God says, no and no. It's going to be Yehoshua, Joshua, Moshe's right-hand man. Why? Because he never left Moshe's tent. The sages tell us that at the end of Moshe's life, he says to Yehoshua, is there anything else I can teach you? And Yehoshua says back to him, I presume with a smile on his face, no, I never missed a single thing that you taught. I was there for every single lesson. God's showing us that what's most important to him is not occasional acts of heroism or courage or being the best or the brightest. It's constancy. It's showing up every single day. And so it's not a surprise that immediately after Yehoshua is appointed as Moshe's successor, God reminds Moshe about the obligation to bring the Korban Tamid, the daily sacrifice that's brought every morning and every afternoon, every single day. And it's also not a surprise, although it sounds bizarre, that the sages of the Talmud have a debate. What is the most important principle of the Torah? First one says, love your neighbor like yourself. Next one says, even more important is, when God created man, he created him in his image. Third one says, even more important is, Shema Yisrael. The fourth one says, no. The most important one is a passage from this week's Parsha that appears also earlier in the Torah. The first sacrifice is brought in the morning, and the second one in the afternoon. The Korban Tamid, the daily sacrifice. Why? Because constancy to God is more important than anything else. And here's a story on that topic. I study with a rabbi in Israel. We've been studying together for quite a few years. We study the Talmud, the Gemara, at 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time. For him in Israel, that's 5:05 a.m., which means he's dressed and he's got his Gemara open in front of him at 5:05 a.m. Several months after we started learning together, we'd been studying for about 40 minutes or so. It was about 10:45 p.m., and I heard a noise on his end of the conversation. And I said to him, who is up in your home? There's never anybody up. He said, oh, it's my newborn son. And I said to myself, I don't remember him ever telling me that he had a baby. Let me just ask him. So I said, by the way, just remind me, how old is your newborn? And he said, about 45 minutes. I said, what? Where are you? He said, we're in the hospital. I said, when was the baby born? He said, about 5 minutes before you called. I said, did you call your wife's parents and your parents? He said, yes, we called my wife's parents, then we called my parents, and then you called. I said, your wife is okay with this? He said, yes. When she went into labor, I brought my Gemara along because I thought the timing might work out. And we both thought, wouldn't it be beautiful if the first thing our newborn child hears is the sound of Torah being learned? That, my friends, is constancy. That is showing up. You don't miss a minyan. You don't miss a study session. You don't miss a mitzvah opportunity. You show up every single day, every morning, every afternoon, every evening.